Okay, there we go.
His husband, Taylor Goldsmith, who's at Altadena Studios, was destroyed by the fire. So breaking tribute to LA.
Hey, Jim. Oh, here we go. He's got it. Okay, cool. Hey, guys.
Hello.
Good. Okay, so we do have a quorum. Thanks for coming on, Margaret.
Yeah. Hello.
Cool.
Yeah.
Take it away.
So we can go ahead and call this meeting to order. So I see, yeah, are we going to go ahead? I think we are just going to have public comment now. Twice per meeting. I think that's what we decided on.
We learned in the paperwork that was something we were supposed to be doing. So, let's see. Jim, you're still on there. Jim, do you have any public comment?
Actually, yes. Jim Kosas, North Mason Hill Road. I just attended the Parks and Recreation meeting, and I just wanted to relate to them that it's great to have the new blood in town to do everything that's happening from day one when this committee started. I was just totally impressed with what has been happening and everything that's been going on. So I just want to give my kudos to you guys also, that you've just been doing a great job towards Pownell and everything. I'm hoping that I'm able to kind of communicate to the people of what's been going on, because a lot of people do not know what is going on in Pownell. And somehow we've got to open up some new mechanisms to bring it to their attentions, other than just having a meeting and posting it on our website. There needs to be just more information put out there to the people to let them know what is happening on the right hand that they don't know on the left hand of what's happening. So again, I just appreciate everything that you've done since the inception of the committee, and we'll move forward and see what's going to happen. And hopefully we're still in the 21st century. We may be a little behind, 24 years behind in trying to do what we've been trying to do. But I think at least now that we're just a quarter of the part through the whole thing, we can bring us everything in Pownell up into the 21st century. Thank you very much for your services, and have a great day.
Thanks, Jim.
Oh, thanks, Jim.
One thing you might be interested in, Jim, nothing has happened officially on this yet, but I know the Friends of Pownell are working on a project to try to put information about what's going on in town up at the library, just so there's another place that people can be kind of seeing information and contributing feedback and things. So I don't know any details, but transparency is definitely kind of the issue of the year for all of us here. So hopefully we'll have some good news for you on that soon.
Well, but yeah, just to add to that, just because I just thought of it, and it's nothing to do with your committee, but maybe it's a recommendation that your committee, to get the information out, maybe we could bring up to the select board or something to acquire a grant that there's more of the Green Mountain bus that only goes down Route 7. Maybe it could be extended from Route 7 down to the library, so that people have access from the Pownell Center to the library, and from the library up to Pownell Center to the and before you had the Parks and Recreations to the skate park and stuff like that. But it kind of opens up the ability for more townspeople to get from one place to another. But thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jim. All right. Cool.
All right. So we can move along to the approval of minutes.
I'm going to let Alexandra in here. There we go.
Oh, do we want to see if we have another?
Hey, Alexandra. Sorry, I didn't see you there. Do you have any public comment you want to give us at the beginning of the meeting here? Okay, I'm going to take that as Okay, we'll take that as a no for now. We'll have another public comment opportunity at the end of the meeting there. Cool.
Great.
All right.
All right. All good. So then let's just move along to the approval of minutes from November the 12th, 2024.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. Oh, goodness, holidays. So has everyone had a chance to review those minutes?
I think I sent them out probably mid-November. It's been a while. Yeah.
Yeah. Can we get a motion to approve the minutes? Well, first, before we do that, any discussion about those minutes? No? Okay. Margaret, you were moving to approve the minutes?
Yes.
Great.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Great. Can we get a second?
I'll second.
Excellent. So approved. Alrighty, moving right along to reports and updates. So the first thing we have is the open seat on the Conservation Commission. So I'm happy to start talking about that. And then Nate, if you can just sort of fill everybody in about your conversation with Tara. So we have an open seat on the commission, and this is something we have been discussing for a little while now. We have had at least one person, Janie Wilkerson, express interest in the commission, sent in a letter of interest, and that, as just happens sometimes, apparently it's gone. We aren't sure where it is, but sent in a letter. Also attended a Concom meeting to express her interest, and so we know there is at least that person out there. But it sounds like this has to be noticed again publicly. Open
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, in a very general sense. Yeah, I mean, I think all it'll likely be is, Tara putting it up on the website.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to coordinate with her and put something on Front Porch Forum just so we can say we really sort of solicited the community there. And then, yeah, if you have Janie's information, do you have her letter of interest?
I've got her letter of interest. I've got everything. So I can just, once that's open again, I don't think we should ask her to resubmit a third time.
Oh, yeah. If you
I'll just-
got it. You can just send it to Tara or whatever. And yeah, I think
Definitely.
that's fine. Tom Zolper expressed a little interest to me.
Great.
I told him that Janie was interested, and he said, "Oh, Janie, she's really great." There's also room on Parks and Recreation, so I think he may write a letter of interest for that instead.
Perfect.
So make sure everyone's got a spot.
Great. Yeah. I mean, the more people, I think the better. I mean,
Definitely.
whoever is interested, and I think, yeah, let's.
So we will, assuming everyone is okay with it, I don't even know if we have a choice, but yeah, I will talk with Tara, we will advertise it publicly, and then we'll fill this position and get a new person on. Yeah,
Sounds great.
cool.
You good, Margaret? Okay. All right. So then we will just bop right down to the next thing on the agenda, the Town Forest Community Outreach. Nathan?
Yeah, so I think what we kind of have in mind for community outreach is trying to get a little group of farmers together or talk with a few individual farmers. I've reached out to Dion Snowshoes, and I think we're gonna one of the requirements for the grant is we actually need to survey businesses.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to handle that. And let's see, was there anyone else? Oh, yeah, and then the landowners that are adjacent to the town forest, we want to try and get a hold of all of them and have a chat too.
Definitely.
So yeah, there's like a little bit of work has happened on all those things. If anybody's interested in taking the helm on any of those things, feel free to volunteer for it. Yeah, and I'm happy to volunteer to do the business stuff since I've already made a couple of connections there.
Probably a dumb question,
No.
but do we have the addresses of the people who are adjacent to that town forest?
I made like a little spreadsheet and pull all that info together. So I have their addresses and I'm working on pulling together good contact info for all of them.
Yeah, I'm happy to jump on that too if you want. I'm literally happy to go knock on some doors and say hello or email.
Where you may be really helpful is trying to find a little group of farmers.
Oh, sure.
Together. So if you're cool kind of doing that, and
Got it.
these public input sessions have been very casual. I've done some advertising and I'm happy to kind of help with that or sort of give you guidelines on kind of what I've done. But typically, like, I get a couple of people to show up and it is what it is. But it's still nice just to say we tried, I think, is really the big thing. We just want to show in the grant that we made an effort to try and kind of reach out to as many people as we could.
And can you remind folks, when is the next meeting for that?
The next VORAC meeting, they usually happen on Tuesdays midday. I think it's like 3:30, and it's a hybrid meeting. You can come online too, but it didn't happen today. So hopefully next month there'll be another meeting. And I think anybody who wants to is welcome to come kind of sit in and see what's going on.
Great.
And what is it called?
Vorak, it's this is the grant for the town forest. So there's like a little working group that gets together once a month. It's Tara, Don Campbell, Jennifer, and I basically are the ones who show up regularly, and a few other sort of tangential people. And we're working on just the kind of nuts and bolts of like the putting together the management plan and all that other stuff. So more help is always appreciated if anyone's interested. I know you have a little bit of background in this stuff. So like if you want to take a look at the plan at any point or come sit on a meeting, you're welcome to. Because yeah, it's a huge project. And yeah, like we are doing a lot of stuff on Concom that then is sort of filtering back into that system. So it's nice to sort of be able to see like where it's going also.
Good. All right. All right. Margaret, you good too? All right. Just checking in. All right. Continuing right along. Third on our agenda here, fire flags and emergency management. And so what I have to report back on that is that just to confirm that it does look like there's potential grant money available from Conservation District. We can get more information about that. And I am meeting this week with Mike Garner to talk to him about that. So keying into the select board as well. And with the Pownell Fire Department. And so hopefully we'll have something concrete by our next Concom meeting.
Cool. And that's sort of, it sounds like Michael and Conservation District is kind of going to partner with you on that. Okay, that's great. So then, yeah, it's whether or not it's sort of Concom territory or not, like it's easy to say you're approaching them as part of the Conservation District and not have any.
And that's how I've approached them.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
All right.
Megan did a little bit of work on the road crew invasive plant mitigation stuff. She was going to write up just a really simple recommendation to ask the road crew to start mowing a little earlier or delay the mowing a little bit or something like that. So yeah, we figured it was a pretty easy ask just to ask them to change the date and we're not really going beyond that was the plan. So hopefully she'll have something next time around.
So do we know if she's reached out yet or we're still waiting for her to talk to
I don't know. I doubt it. I think she started writing something, but I don't think she's like sent it to anybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. All right. Down now to the integrated management plan, the conservation goals.
So yeah, Margaret had some really good insight on this. I can't remember when we talked about it, but just it's this tricky thing. It's like putting these conservation goals together could be this like infinitely long process of refining and refining. And I think part of what we need to do is figure out like how do we determine when it's actually like ready to kind of put it into the draft of the plan. So I don't know if anyone has any thoughts on that. I mean, I've run it by Michael at BCCD. I ran it by Tessa, the county forester. That's it so far.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there are like a few other people that it might be worth talking to about. I don't know exactly who those people would be. I reached out to the Mohican folks in Williamstown there, and I haven't heard anything back, but I'm hoping I can get with them about it, just see if they have any input. So yeah, I don't know. Does that like, are there other people we should talk to about it? Like what should our process be on kind of turning that into like a final thing?
I was going to ask, it's going to be submitted in part to the Vermont Land Trust, right? In other words, should we ask Donald Campbell to review it before it's final, or he'll review it once it's already incorporated into the larger grant?
I think, yeah, he will be there. He'll definitely be there to review it. And yeah, what we're doing is just basically the first drafting of it right now. Yeah, and I think generally the feedback that we've gotten, because, you know, a lot of these things came from other management plans. We just literally lifted the text and just brought it over into ours. So it's okay. And the question is just like, yeah, when how many people do we have to run it by? Or like, is there a date where we're just like, whatever we've gotten by this time? Or, yeah,
So then could not part of that process be to go ahead and sort of just publish that publicly and open it for a period of public comment?
that's a good question.
As well. That way would sort of, it won't ensure that everyone who might want to weigh in is able to, but again, if we're to publish a notice for that and we have that open for a period of public, something reasonable.
Mhm.
I'm just thinking giving folks a chance to weigh in on that may be helpful.
I like that idea. Yeah, I can ask Jennifer kind of what her timeline is on it, but yeah, I mean, I think even if it's just doing like a front porch forum thing, just to kind of get it out there a little bit, that certainly wouldn't hurt. I had a couple of people on a list that I was these were suggestions from Michael when I talked with him about people to contact. He suggested Rob Terry, the executive director of Merck Forest.
Oh, yeah.
What's that?
Sorry, I'm just like, oh yeah, Rob. Yeah.
Do you know him?
He's on the board.
Oh, cool. Oh, okay, great. Walker Kamek at the Smoky Mountain Center. And then also Janelle Dowell from the Thetford Conservation Commission, just because they like just finished a forest management plan for a similar sized forest. So it just seems like a really good analog. So do those people seem like good folks to reach out to? Is there anybody who wants to kind of take the helm reaching out to any of those people? I don't have right now, all I have is just the names. I have no contact info or anything. So it'll take a little sleuthing to do.
I can just reach out to Rob.
You can reach out to Rob.
Yep.
Okay, cool. And then, yeah, I guess of those two, I reached out to the Stockbridge Mohegan Nation. Maybe Walker Kamek is the other guy. And then, oh yeah, you mentioned Jens. Do you think that he'd be a good person to reach out to just to run this by? Would you feel okay like sending him okay, so
Yeah.
I will make a note to send around the draft, like the sort of most recent draft of that to everybody. And then, yeah, if you want to send it to Rob, if you want to send it out, yeah, we can kind of just shoot it out to a few more people.
And I can, if you said Janelle from Thetford Concom, I can also reach out. I maybe I got that name wrong, but you mentioned that another conservation commission just did.
Oh yeah, no, Janelle. Yeah, do you know her?
No, I don't. But I think one role I'm happy to play is kind of a liaison with other concoms. And so I'm happy to reach out to Janelle and then Jens. I maybe recommend Jens. Like kind of toward the end of our reviews before it goes, once we've kind of had the benefit of other input and have a draft we really believe in, to kind of give us kind of a look as we're wrapping it up might be a good moment in the process for him to take a look, but I can let him know that it's coming.
Cool.
And if we establish some kind of, timetable, that way he can kind of plan for it. So
yeah. Great. Well, yeah, in terms of a timetable, I mean, I think, this management plan doesn't have to be done until I think December of this year. So we do have a little bit of time, but I think, trying to get something kind of somewhat finished by, mid to the end of February or something like that. I mean, that seems pretty reasonable, right? Like we could, if we have like this meeting, we reach out to a few more people, review what we've done at the next meeting, and then we can send that to Jens at the end. And then we're into like kind of mid-February, late February by the time we've got some of the show for it.
I think that's really wise, Nate. I think we'll kind of do another round of outreach to some of the people you just mentioned, incorporate their feedback. That way we can send to Jens and say, okay, here's who we consulted and here's where we landed. Any thoughts for us? And then by the time we meet again in March, we should be kind of done.
Okay.
And then we can socialize that timetable with like Jennifer and others and see if they're comfortable with it.
Definitely. Great. Okay. And then we'll do at some point in that process, we can do a front porch forum, sort of get public feedback. Okay, cool. That sounds like a really solid plan. I think that's good. And yeah, like this, it's going to be a living document. It doesn't need to be perfect. We just want to kind of what Michael recommended on this is we want to cast a wide net. We want to make sure that like anything we might possibly want to do in the future, it could somehow be fit into one of these conservation goals. So they're very wide, and it's just like, provide safe places for, parents and children to recreate and, like really sort of basic boilerplate stuff for the most part. But yeah, what is in there is important because that's what lets us fundraise and stuff in the future. Cool. Great.
Unless you think this would be too much, we could add a section to the bottom of the document that just lists who's reviewed it, their title, the date they reviewed it, and maybe just a summary of their feedback, just to kind of create kind of a record along with the document of how it's evolved and who's seen it, so that travels then with the document for future reviewers. Not that it would be incorporated in the final, but just as people look at that section.
Yes,
Yeah.
no, that's a great idea. I have limited notes from the talks that I had, but certainly, yeah, at least like putting a list of the people we reached out to and when we talked with them, I think would be really good. Again, just more evidence that we like did our due diligence on it.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Okay.
Okay, so do we maybe just kind of just continue fold into this?
Yeah. I think that's
Project.
solid.
Yeah, town forest interpretive signage, hunting, ticks, basic map.
I was gonna ask Bill to do that, because he had done a little research earlier on signage, but yeah, I just think Concom is in charge of doing all of the interpretive signage for the forest when the time comes, but I think like, this is the town forest, watch out for ticks, this is hunting season, like it's stuff we need to get up like as soon as humanly possible. So I think, I'll ask Bill if he can just do like a little bit of kind of cost estimating and, find a good sort of place to source these signs. And then we can, there's boilerplate text for ticks that comes from the state and, that's all pretty easy, but it's something we should definitely kind of get the wheels rolling on.
Great. All right, new business. Refocusing on town inventory, forming new subcommittees, which we have been in conversation about. And looking at those subcommittees, there's sort of a group 1 and a group 2. Group 1, streams, lakes, ponds, wetlands, floodplains, how we gather this information. And then group 2, scenic, recreational, historic resources, gathering information on that, actually 3. And then prime agricultural and forest land. And so gathering that information. And so having sort of divided ourselves into smaller subcommittees so we can actually make some progress and tackle this. So if you want to say anything about that.
Yeah, so there's a lot of great public data available for that first group, the water resources and land resources. I just printed out like a couple kind of sample maps if you want to take a look at them from just the Vermont. It's like the Center for Geological Studies or something has like an instance of a GIS system that we can use. So yeah, I was able to print out at least some rudimentary maps that show streams, lakes, ponds, wetlands, floodplains, agricultural land, forest land, endangered plants and animals. And yeah, I think like to go any deeper on that would require a much deeper dive than I think we're prepared to do, at least for this first time around. So I think like I will try and get a little more context to sort of explain like what all these different zones mean. But I think for that first section, what we can pull out of existing databases is probably plenty, given that like I doubt we'll really be able to like leverage much of this into use anyway.
Yeah. I'm doing the same thing with farms as well. I mean, and that's actually been much more researchable than I thought it was.
Right.
That and always with conversations, but I also think this initial inventory, I mean, I think the inventory is very much a living document. So what we start with is something that hopefully just continues to grow and then is added to in the future.
Yep. So yeah, I don't know. I was thinking maybe, I mean, I know we don't have everyone here, but maybe it would make sense to just kind of go down this list. I sent this in an email to you, Margaret. I think just a little bit after the meeting. It's basically the same list. I think I changed a few things, but and just make sure we're on the same page and see where we're at on it, and sort of if anybody wants to kind of take the helm on continuing to work on those projects. And honestly, like I've been kind of chipping away at this for a while, so I've made at least a little bit of progress on almost everything. But I'd love to kind of farm out the rest of it to others sort of as we go. So let's see, the first two that I don't have kind of in a done form were private land used by the public and undeveloped public land. So that's something that like it is in the remit from the select board that like we want to be sort of looking for pieces of public land that we could put into use or private land that we want to buy. So it probably wouldn't be super hard to gather that information together, but like, how do you guys feel about that in terms of sort of prioritizing? Like, is that something that we should try and include in this first iteration, or do you think we can kind of push that?
I would, sorry, go ahead, Margaret.
Please, no, go ahead.
I mean, I'm thinking about private land that's used by the public, you know?
Yeah.
I wonder if that's something that we don't push a little bit, but also I'd like to talk more about that and think about what that looks like. I mean, I could think about some place like the Tubbs.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's an obvious example. And I'm thinking about others as well. I know we've talked.
There aren't that many, but yeah, Tubbs, they call it the Pownell Beach over by Stewart's is another one that's sort of privately owned. Browns Field up on Old Military Road is another, it's privately owned by somebody who lives out of town, and she's furious that everybody's riding their dirt bikes and ATVs up there, but that's another place that like people go all the time to ride. So yeah, there's not a ton, and I think with a little asking around, it wouldn't be that hard to find them and mark them on a map. And same thing with this stuff that's like owned by the town that isn't used, that's just like asking Tara.
Yeah.
Or so maybe that's not too heavy of a lift. So is there anyone here who wants to like just follow up on those couple things and like get a good working list going? I do have a few of them down there, but I'm sure there's more.
I'm happy to jump on the undeveloped public land.
Okay. I can honestly, I think I'll do the private land used by public because that's I think most of it on there already. And yeah, if anybody thinks of any sort of unique spots that they know about, let me know. Okay, so recreational resources, hiking trails and biking trails, I feel like I've got a decent handle on. ATV trails, I was gonna ask Bill if he could spearhead that, because I think I'm also I'm gonna go to a Stanford Ridge Riders meeting this month to talk with them, because I guess there are a bunch of people from Powell who ride who are part of that club, and they may have some good maps of stuff in the area that we could kind of steal. So hopefully that'll help on that one. So playground, sport facilities, public parks, those, yeah, like I have a few, but that's something that, yeah, it's like sort of the non-hiking recreation, like the sort of town parky kind of stuff, the stuff that's over at the elementary school, the baseball field down here, like stuff like that. Is there anyone who wants to try and pull together a little list of those things?
Why don't we? Megan may be good for that also, I was thinking.
Okay, if she's not here to say no, let's make her do it. Yeah, that's fine.
Let's do that.
Okay, cool. So yeah, well, we can give her playgrounds, like sports fields, public parks, and yeah, scenic views we can kind of all contribute to, but Megan's been here long enough that I bet she could actually come up with a pretty good list. Okay, public hunting areas. Does anybody know anything about that? Steve, you know anything?
Yeah, I was gonna say, Steve, you could.
Are you cool kind of trying to just put together a little list of the spots where that are sort of
I think I know who to ask. Yeah.
Cool. Perfect. Awesome. Because yeah, that's one that's definitely a blind spot for me. Okay, so then
Good question. With the public hunting areas, I'm thinking there are also like privately owned hunting areas that are somewhat open. I mean,
yeah, I mean that's one of those things we'll have to kind
Basically,
of.
anything that's not posted is open.
yeah, exactly. I mean, that's okay.
Yeah, so if you know a few people
Unless
like
there's houses right there.
yeah, because it's true. Like asking around for like
Yeah.
because I know there are probably some landowners who are just like anyone who wants to hunt, feel free. So if we can figure out who those people are, we can include that in the sort of like publicly used private land.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a really good idea. And yeah, and also, yeah, let's just remember that like these don't need to be exhaustive. Don't kill yourself overdoing it. Just get a basic list going. And yeah, if you can get like addresses or if you go on Google Maps, you can like drop a pin and get like GPS coordinates
Yeah.
of locations. So like yeah, anything that's sort of located in a specific spot, if you can find a good location for it, then I can add it to the digital map. And I'm happy to sort of manage like putting that stuff onto Google Maps as it comes in. Margaret, you look like you have something to say, or you're.
No, I'm just looking at your spreadsheet and, my eyes are jumping around at different ones that I think are super interesting.
Are there any that you feel like, are there ones you're excited about that you want to take on?
I'm skipping ahead a little bit so we
Yeah,
can
no,
go
go
back.
ahead.
But I'm interested in the business list, but
Yeah.
I'm also wondering if the town would have that if the businesses have to pay taxes and things like that. So some of these ones I'm wondering, anyway, I'm just thinking about who the source would be, but I'm happy to have my name next to that one.
Cool. Okay, great. Yeah. And I think you're right. I think a lot of these are just like a matter of making a few phone calls, just like getting to the right person. So yeah, it's not, none of it should be super difficult in terms of having to do research. It's just like finding the right person to ask.
Yeah, I think if we're comfortable with it unfolding over time, I'm interested. I think Jeannie is a great person for the farm list, the business list, short-term rentals, and artists and sole proprietors. I'd be interested in looking into those things.
Yeah,
Great.
I think that would be great. And like artist sole proprietors, like that's the type of list that the town probably doesn't have. And we have a ton of like really amazing artists in town. So yeah, and then, maybe that eventually leads to pulling a little focus group together and just chatting with them about what we could do for them. But yeah, that'd be awesome. That'd be great, Margaret. So let's see.
So we're down to town forest signage, right?
Where am I? Public sports, public parks. Here we go. Educational and cultural resources. So I think historic sites without markers, like that's.
I'm still really interested in.
You're interested in doing that? Okay, cool. Well, yeah, I would talk with Joyce. She's a really great resource over at the Historic Society. And yeah, I mean. Geez, I don't even know where you would like that. That might take some research, but yeah, good long-term project, right? The existing historic markers, I think I've got pretty well under control.
How many are there, by the way, that you've identified?
Just a handful.
I thought there weren't very
Yeah,
many.
there aren't any.
Yeah.
Cemeteries, I asked Megan to
And-
do a little digging around on that. Buildings with architectural value and like scientific resources, both were ones that kind of made me clench up a little bit. So yeah, maybe we wait on that. I mean, buildings with architectural value is maybe something that Joyce could help us with. That's sort of the like historic sites and stuff. Yeah, I wonder, I feel like that's kind of a phase 2 thing. Like I could see that being a really cool project, bringing in like some architecture students from Williams or Bennington College and having them do some research or something. But it didn't seem like it was sort of part of the specific ask from the select board. So I think we probably can push that one. And scientific is the same way. It's like, I think sort of outside of the water resources and land resources and stuff, I don't know exactly what to do. That one. And then archaeological, I'm hoping that I'll do a little work on that, just sort of asking around, trying to find I know really the site I'm most concerned about is that little piece of the town forest there. So like I think that may be the extent of what we do in the first round, but okay, so then farms, businesses, we got through all the economic stuff. So then, yeah, then I just was trying to brainstorm the other things that we had kind of talked about doing here. But I think we got through most of this stuff.
One thing
Yeah.
that would interest me, and it's kind of mixed into the water resources thing, is that I think like vernal pools and migrations of frogs and newts and things like that. I think there certain times of year where we have a lot of amphibians crossing roads and things like that, and kind of being able to map for the public those sensitive areas and the times of years, just because if we can keep traffic lighter on those crossing paths for certain animals at certain times of year, that could make a big difference for those animal populations. So I think it's kind of implied, I think, in some of the water resources things, but kind of just understanding those patterns. There are times when I go on bike rides and I see tons of little orange newts crossing back and forth over the road. Things like that.
So I do have a map here that has, I can't remember exactly what's on. It's like it has a lot of stuff about like animal migration, endangered species. Yeah, there is some of that information, but it's relatively opaque. It's like they have all these classifications that are different colors, but there's not a whole lot of information on like what those classifications really mean. So like if you wanted to start from this map, like I can kind of show you this map and sort of how to toggle the layers on and off, but you could start from the map of like what data already exists for the area in terms of that stuff. And maybe just dig into like, what does class 5, like migration area mean? Because they don't get too deep into that on the GIS site.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's another good kind of like longer term ongoing project. But I'm happy to share that map with you. Maybe we should really get together and I can kind of show you the whole system at some point because it's really cool and there's a ton of good info in there.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Cool. So yeah, signage Bill's doing. I'm working on the town forest map. Margaret and I are kind of involved in the forest management plan stuff. Farmer focus groups. Yeah, I think we kind of covered all this.
Yeah, I think we're good.
And then just down at the bottom here, this was just my kind of bullet pointed list of sort of other things that the select board asked us to do just so we can kind of keep them on our radar. But there wasn't any specific like action items or anything like that. It was just like, these are the other things that we are allowed to work on.
Okay.
So
Great.
do we have, do we have a sense of like timing or milestones or anything like that?
Vaguely. So me and G and Margaret are going to get together on the 28th of this month, just to kind of do a check-in. And at that point, I will start taking lists that people have, and I'll spend a few weeks like putting them onto like the Google map that I've got going. So yeah, in general, like it's aspirational, but the goal is like sort of if we focus like this month on working on this and try and kind of come back to the next meeting with what feels like a pretty complete list of stuff. And then I can handle from February to March, like putting that all together in a map basically, so that by March, which is a year after we started meeting, we've got something.
We have a list.
That sounds great.
Cool. So yeah.
And maybe we can kind of indicate for the select board, whether we think what we've got there is the tip of the iceberg or fairly complete, because there could be some categories where we feel like we've made an initial pass, but we might want to add more, whereas others we might, especially if it's drawn from public information that's very robust, then maybe that's one that we feel we probably don't expect to add too much going forwards, just to give them like a kind of a little report card on it, like, hey, here's where it's really strong, here's where we'll develop it over time.
Well, so maybe that's a good kind of like February to March project. Like once we have the list, we can work on kind of giving a little more context on sort of how we gathered this stuff and whatever. And actually that dovetails into something else, which isn't on the agenda, but we should definitely talk about, which is Tara sent out this email about like getting a write-up of anything that the commissions are working on by.
I did see that, yeah.
You saw that? Have you like, do you want to take some action on that? Do you want me to?
Yeah, no, I can do that. I'll
Okay.
connect with Tara on that.
And I heard through the grapevine that the select board is going to be asking all of the chairs to go to a select board meeting and just kind of give them a basic rundown of what we've been working on, which will likely be very similar to whatever we write up. So if you want to collaborate on that or you want some suggestions or whatever, I'm happy to help with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So yeah, we can try. I think that needs to happen like as soon as possible. Because I think Tara said she needs the write up for the like town report by the end of this week, but the sooner the better. So if you want to work on drafting that up in the next couple of days, and then we can deal with the actual presentation. I assume like they haven't reached out to you yet.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so we got time on that. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So it looks like we're back to public comment.
All right, awesome. Any public comments for the end of the meeting here? Feel free to just unmute and start blabbing if you want to. All right, cool. Thanks, Alexandra and Jim, for showing up and listening to the meeting. Good to see you, Margaret. I guess we're. Oh,
You're adjourned now.
you have to move. I'm going to make a motion to adjourn.
I second that motion.
Okay,
So adjourned.
all in favor? Yeah, great. All right, we're good.
Good night.
Cool. All right, bye, Margaret.
Thanks for the Zoom option. I appreciate it, everyone.
Oh, yeah, no, I learned how, Hannah taught us how to do it, so hopefully we won't have any problems with it moving forward.
That's great. Thank you.
All right, see you later.
Bye.
Yeah, for this one, I'm agriculture and forest land.
Yep.
That's